Hey everyone, Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our latest freebie, our greeting card box. Now we just released a brand new set of cards. This is known as the Fantasy Flower Card SVG bundle, and you can see here we've got these wonderful cards, and there's 4 different kinds. They're all very similar, except for the fact that the face is a little bit different as far as the little cutout for the flower. And obviously the flowers are different. These are just kind of fantasy flowers. And when you open it up, it exposes the actual flower. You can put a little sentiment here. And then of course you have one more page. Don't mind that. I just had that on there to keep it closed while I was photographing it. But you've got this entire area for a stamp, your sentiment, your message, whatever you want to do. And of course the back as well, with this pretty little border here. So yeah, you've got 4 of these, and if you want to make these as a gift, what better way to gift it than with a little custom box? And of course, all the cards come with envelopes as well. So anyway, got my plug in, and I've got all of my pieces cut out here for our little handy box. It's very straightforward. It's going to go together very quickly. And we're going to begin by just putting together the little base or the compartment. And you can see here I've already pre-folded everything. Did it with solid score lines. We include solid score lines with all of our projects. And you can see these nice sized tabs here. We're going to begin by putting glue on the tabs. And I'm going to actually just make sure that I get that glue out to the very edge of each of the tabs, just to make sure that everything looks nice and seamless. We'll tuck that behind the neighboring wall, get that lined up, and you can actually put that down on your surface and press down. And there we go, one side done. Move over to the next one. Same thing, just gonna repeat this 3 more times until all 4 sides are in place. And as you can imagine, the lid for our box is gonna go together very much the same way, with a few exceptions, because there is a little design element that goes along with it. Okay, so we've got that. And let's take a look at that one more time here. I kind of jumped the gun there. Okay, a couple more tabs here. Get that glue out to the edge. I like to use my finger when I do this because I just have a lot more control over where that glue goes. If you don't want to get your finger all gluey, well, you can still use your finger. I keep a little moist sponge underneath my desk. Just wipe it off on there, and then just take that sponge and, well, can't really wash it, so I do dispose of it, but it's better than getting it all over the place. And it definitely helps to make sure that my projects come out very nice each time. Okay, now to thicken up the bottom here, we have this little piece. We'll call this a liner. That's what we usually call it. And we'll just throw a little bit of glue on that. You don't need a lot, just enough for it to get a grip. We'll pop that right in there. And just press that down. Okay. All right, so now we have the top. Okay, and as I mentioned, the top is pretty much identical to the bottom, but before we actually assemble the structure, we're going to take and we're going to do a couple things. Well, first off, we're going to put this little design element on there, and you can see that this is just a white sheet of cardstock that I ran through my embossing machine. I did also ink the edges with a little bit of pink. I typically ink before I emboss, although I've seen it done in other ways, and there's definitely applications for that. I think sometimes inking after embossing gives you a little bit more of a grungy sort of feel. So if you're working on, something kind of vintage or maybe even Halloween, I could see you doing that. If you want to keep things nice and clean, I would ink and then emboss. Okay, so just getting glue on this element here. And you'll notice on top of the box here, we do have some little score marks, some little, just little markers to help you with the placement of this piece. It is a little flimsy. Okay, and I didn't use those very well. There we go, much better. And that should give us a nice, perfectly round little border here in the center as well. And press that down into place. Just gives it a quick little, a simple little design element so it's not so plain. Press that down into place. And then we're going to flip it over. Now the cool thing about this box is that your recipient will want to open it immediately because we have a cute little window so that they can see what you have inside. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this down. This is acetate. If you don't have any acetate, you can take one of your Cricut or Silhouette or Brother cutting mats and that plastic on maybe one of the old ones, you can use that. Okay, so I'm going to keep my glue somewhat within this area here and just make sure that you get that right on top of that little cutout and press that down. And now that doesn't look all that pretty, which is why we have this piece here to kind of hide everything and make it look nicer. Okay, so we'll throw some glue on this piece here. And as you can imagine, we're almost done. This is a very simple little box. If this is your first time working with a Dreaming Tree project, you definitely picked a good one just to get your feet wet. It's a very simple construction. And if you've gotten this far, that means that you've cut everything out. You got your machine to cut everything out. And well, if you can do this, you can make anything on our site because you've already done, I wouldn't even consider it difficult, but if you're new, again, it's new to you, bringing in the files, getting them cut out. But if you can do it with this, you can literally browse the store and make anything on there. So the process is exactly the same, and we always include assembly videos for all of our projects. Okay, so that looks nice. It's nice and hidden now. Everything looks very nice and clean. Okay, so we'll do the same thing we did with the bottom. Get that glue out to the very edge of each of these tabs. Take that, tuck it right behind the neighboring wall, and just press that down. Now the trick here is to go easy on the glue. Less is more. You cake that with glue, it's going to warp your paper, and you're going to be sitting there for way much longer than you need to while it dries. So go easy on the glue. It should be nice and thin. Okay, next little tab there. I'm just kind of dabbing it up to the very edge. And there we go. Press that down into place. A couple more tabs and we'll be done. I'm going to finish this off with just some rhinestones, I think. Let's see. You're just going to throw a couple rhinestones on the actual front, or the top, I should say, on the lid, and then call it a day. Don't need to do anything crazy with this one. Now, if you want, you can absolutely take some ribbon and tie a nice bow around it to make it even more special and more gift-like. That's always a nice little touch to any sort of box. Throwing a bow on there. Okay. And last but not least, one more little tab here. I'm going to tuck this in while I apply the glue so I don't stretch out the other side of the tab, or the wall, excuse me. And there we go. Very easy. Now after this assembly, I do want to share one little tip with you. And we'll get into that in here in just a second. There we go. And there you have it. Okay. Beautiful. We've got the little cutouts so that you can get your fingers in there. Makes it a lot easier to take everything off. Let's throw I would throw the envelopes in first, and then let's see which one's my favorite. I really like the pink one, so I'm going to throw that one on top. Perfect. And I'll get that lid on there. And there you have it. So you can see right in there. Nice, perfect sized box. And we'll be throw a couple little rhinestones here in between these little design elements. And that's about it. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, I have a little tip for you here. And that tip involves embossing. So occasionally you run into a situation where you have a piece of paper. Now, of course, here you can see the embossing folders here. This one is, I believe it's 5 by 7. Okay, now if any of the dimensions, whether it be the width or the height, goes beyond 7 inches, or if both of them go beyond 7 inches, this is not going to work. So one of them has to stay within 5 inches. So if you've got something 5 inches by 9, you can do up to 5 by 10 roughly. So here's what I want to show you. Now this piece is roughly the right size. Now, and just imagine if this was even longer, okay? Because occasionally we do run into this situation where we have panels like this that we need to emboss, but they're longer than the embossing folder. Now technically, if you're looking at this, it does look like it fits, but the design starts up here, but it kind of cuts off down here, so it looks a little strange. So what you can do, as long as, like I said, as long as your piece of paper, whatever it may be, stays in the confines of the width, but might be a little bit longer. Again, it cannot exceed 10 inches. I'd say probably 9.5. But what you can do is you can take it and run it through twice. Okay, so I'm gonna just bring it down. I'm gonna bring it down around here. Let me see. Yeah, I want it right about here. Bring the folder down, and the cool thing about these is you can see through them, so you know exactly what you're going to get when you run it through your embossing machine. Okay, so I've got that lined up nicely where I want it. Kind of hold it in place so it doesn't shift around, and grab the rest of my plates here, and we'll run it through the embossing machine. Oh, what the heck's going on with this thing? And we'll run that through once. Now, of course, this may not always work depending on what type of folder you have, but this folder, obviously, because the pattern is very uniform, you can definitely do this. Okay, so you see I've got this whole section here embossed. Now what I'll do is I'll just pop it in again and get it lined up and just run it through a second time. So again, picture this thing being much longer. Again, it's got to be less than about 9.5 inches long, and it can't be more than 5 inches wide. I don't think they really make embossing folders any bigger than that anyway. But just line that up. Okay, that looks pretty close. Good enough for this demonstration anyway. And then we just run it through a second time. And then we'll have the entire thing covered. Now again, I could have ran this through just once, but then I'd have kind of like a little area of negative space there at the bottom, which I don't know if anyone would notice, but I know that I notice that kind of stuff, so I don't want to do that. But anyway, I would take that off, and you can see that we've got that embossing design from top to bottom now, instead of it being cut off here. Okay, so again, this applies to longer pieces as well, but just thought I'd show you that. Thought it was an interesting little tip. Been doing a series of quick tip videos that you guys are really enjoying, so we'll keep doing that. But anyway, the box is done. Cards are beautifully sitting inside, ready to be gifted. I think it's a wonderful little gift to give, because who can't use a card, especially these cards from our Fantasy Flower bundle that well, work for a variety of occasions. Anyway, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. I've got 43,700 subscribers now. You guys have been hitting that subscribe button. I keep thinking smashing that subscribe button is what all the kids say these days. So yeah, if you enjoy the videos, please take a moment, hit that subscribe button. And if you make this or anything from our newest bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom. This may be the last tutorial for 2021, so thank you guys for your continued support of the site. It's been an interesting year. It's actually been an interesting couple years. All the best in 2022. Hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's, and just stay safe and happy and enjoy the time with your family. But yeah, as always, I look forward to crafting with you soon. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.